Good morning. My name is Michael Randolph. I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. Today, I want to talk about a story of how a community was able to change from within and design its own program, its own destiny in order to transform the community. Now, this video that you're about to look at, keep in mind it's kind of dated. It was done in 2005, but I think you're going to get the point. Well, what does community empowerment looks like, especially in African communities, poor communities in particular. So let's start the tape. Now, keep in mind that before 1990, and we're talking about the West Tampa community, and this was before the West Tampa CDC started, community residents, neighborhood groups, and shareholders were not getting along. In 1999, started the creation of the West Tampa Community Development Corporation. The focus was to look at what are the problems, what are the solutions, and more importantly, how do we bring everybody to the table to buy in to the program. Now, in the summer of 2001, I was hired as a consultant to come to West Tampa and to work with the residents and the shareholders on behalf of the West Tampa CDC to come up with a 5-year strategic plan that looks at how do we map out our future. I came to the table with a background in working in community development, in the community development field, but more importantly, my background in understanding economic development and working with the residents in West Tampa to bring together their vision, their purpose. And you're going to hear about those folks. Now, here's what we do know. We talk about a bottom-up approach. If you know me, I'm always talking about a bottom-up approach. Well, now we're going to look at what does a bottom-up approach look like through the eyes of the West Tampa Initiative. The initiative consists of telling the story of how residents, neighborhood leaders, businesses, investors, lenders, shareholders, and others came together to put together a plan, and including government was part of that strategy to put together a plan to map out the future of West Tampa. Keep in mind, what was great about this initiative is that the West Tampa CDC, working with the community, had designed its own plan. And this was the plan presented out to leaders, to businesses, to investors, to government to buy into a plan that was actually created by the community, and it was successful. As you can see, that meeting was well turned out by a diverse group of folks, young, old, Black, white, brown, yellow, you name it. Everybody was part of that particular meeting. Businesses, investors, everybody was part of that meeting. And this was the first time that this type of initiative was pulled off in West Tampa. Now, Dr. Fisher, she's going to be speaking. She is a doctor in education. This goes back to the strategy that in order to be successful, in order to get community buy-in, you definitely have to have community leadership that's respected, like Dr. Margaret Fisher, who is the chairperson of the West Tampa CDC, and Joe Robinson, who is the vice chair of the West Tampa CDC.
Thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule to come out this evening. Thank you, Minister Jackson.
I apologize for the quality of this video.
I'm kind of trying to, but today's meeting is going to focus on a seed that was planted in 1999 by business leaders, residents, community leaders, some politicians, educators, and other shareholders. These people saw a need to make a difference in West Tampa. The West Tampa CDC, because I do really thank you for coming out, but I will mention them at this time. We have Ruth McNair, who was from the West Riverfront Association. Pilar, Mrs. Pilar Kahala from Northeast McFarland, Robert Allen from North.
Now, what was important about this initiative is that we did our homework. We made sure that all other civic neighborhood groups that had major ones that's been in West Tampa all their life and been in the West Tampa like almost forever, we wanted to make sure that they was part of the empowerment. So we initially started off by inviting them to the table, even before the plan was presented to the larger community, including businesses and government. We made sure we got leadership on the ground from the neighborhood groups and got their support. I think that's the key to a bottom-up approach.
North Hyde Park, and Rick Caldevella, who is the president of the West Tampa Chamber of Commerce. And you are going to hear from them a little later. Today's event will focus on our vision and mission. I cannot think of a better person to explain that approach than a person who leads our economic development initiative. Many of you have seen Michael around. Many of you have worked with him, and you really have not heard that much about Michael. And I'd like to share some things this evening about Michael. Michael has worked for more than 20 years in community development. He has served on several national committees, including the West Baltimore Federal Empowerment Zone. He has worked with the Sandtown Transformation Initiative, the Safe and Sound Initiative, the Job Plus Federal Employment Initiative, the West Side Empowerment Career Center, the Johns Hopkins School of Social Policy Urban Crisis. He has served on the White House panel on lessons learned in community development. He's also served with the Enterprise Foundation National Conference, also on lessons learned in urban development.
Without the leaders buying in into the process, the leaders at the grassroots level, it's not true neighborhood transformation. Listen to how leaders feel when they became part of the CDC and they knew they had a voice in the community.
That diamond. You get that as soon as you clean it off, shine it up, that piece of coal becomes that diamond. when the CDC came in, it was like God sent, because that helped us further the next step of what we needed to do. We worked with the city, which was great, but to have something that was centralized to West Tampa, that helped West Tampa only, was the best thing to come around. One of the projects that we did with the CDC was the overlay. It was something that someone that we've heard said that was impossible for us to do, to get done, but it's been done. January of last year, the overlay was added to Chapter 27 of the city ordinances.
This was the first overlay in the city of Tampa that was designed by the community. It was the first time, and this goes to show the power of the community when you mobilize and organize. Now, what's important about the overlay is that the community got an opportunity to talk about what the community should look like in terms of the buildings and the look, making sure that it sticks to that West Tampa historic look. So that was the overlay. That was a very powerful, successful way of the community actually saying to the city, it belongs to us and we should design it. It was one of the first ones in West Tampa that was designed by the community, within the community. I can't overemphasize the power of the community.
Overlay now is a growing, continuing document. It's always going to change. We had to start out with a foundation because a lot of things were happening in West Tampa that we basically wanted to have control of. The people in this community wanted to be respected, and they wanted to make sure that by using the laws of the city, that the people who come in the community respect it, unfortunately.
Now, notice how she emphasized that sense of wanting to be respected. Again, we go back to prior to 1999, when residents and civic groups wanted to have a voice in on what was going on. Pretty much that voice was not heard. And with the start of the West Tampa CDC, we gave voice to the community so that they had a table at the decision-making process.
But that's what we had to do. We hope that if you would like to get involved in our neighborhood association, I'll be here in the meeting and I can talk to you about some of the other further things that we have done. We have.
It's Janice Dula, and I'm a native of West Tampa.
Of all the people that has been part of this process, Janice Dula, who's no longer here, is very dear to me. I remember her coming into actually I was over at the West Tampa Library. She was over at the library trying to get some information on something. And I was telling the librarian about the service that the West Tampa CDC had. And she said, "Oh, y'all got services right here in West Tampa?" And I remember her coming over to the office and saying she wanted to do something different because she was tired. She was a waitress. She said, "I'm so tired of being on my feet, and I want to make a transformation." And she did. And you'll hear about that transformation. Now, after this was made and before she passed, she actually went to college. She got a good job working with people that were in need of services. So Janice, a shout out to her. We miss you, girl.
Tampa. First, I want to thank God for allowing me to be a part of the West Tampa CDC and changing the future of my community. Second, I want to thank Dr. Fisher and Michael Randolph for having faith in me. And I also want to thank the board members for granting me this opportunity. Before coming to the CDC, I had no experience in working in a professional setting. Since being with the CDC, I have learned new job skills, such as typing, greeting the public, data entry, scanners, and the Microsoft family. I have attended various meetings, and I have met all type of important people, like the Mayor Pam IR, Councilwoman Miller, Councilwoman Everest, and Councilman White. I know the road is going to be long for me, but I'm like a sponge. I want to soak up everything about this corporation so I can continue to help my community. Thank you.
and God bless.
Rest in peace. This is what this is all about. Reaching all the way down to let people know that you count and that we provide the services to transform you. It's called a bottom-up approach, reaching all the way down to those people that have limited skills, those people that have criminal records, those people that's gone through so much they can't move forward, to provide them with the opportunity to transform. Janice, rest in peace. What you're going to hear throughout our presentation is the importance of relationship between the private and the public sector. In other words, between nonprofits and the private sector, and putting together deals that brings in earned income into the community that allow us to pursue the visions of the community and the mission that's been set forth. Developers are part of that approach that we take in terms of cutting out the middleman and talking directly to developers and able to put together a deal that benefits both the developer and the residents in the community. The major focus of our emphasis has always been on how do we frame a deal to reduce gentrification on any project that might increase the likelihood.
Been lucky to have my welfare. She now has her own business and is going through her 4th or 5th feature film. That's the kind of story we want to create here. And when we talked to Michael, and one of the statistics that Michael told us is, you know, I did some research and I found out that 30% of the people in the West Tampa area are already involved in a creative enterprise. Now, whether that means art, singing, dancing, or whatever creative they're already here. They're in that kind of industry. So he turns to me and he says, so if you can create the jobs, I got the people. And that's what we want to try to do.
Unions, and we're very excited about this team. We're focused currently on building residential homes in the heart of West Tampa, and we're very excited about this effort, and I'm very pleased to be here to share it with you.
Frankly, it's entrepreneurship. What makes projects like yours work is cash. And what generates cash are people who are motivated by being a business owner. In other words, build your own dreams versus build somebody else's dreams. See, you're a business owner, profits are better than wages. Now, after your meeting here tonight, I'm going to hang around. Those of you who would like to hear a short presentation, about a 15-minute, we're going to have a meeting after the meeting, but the whole thing is designed to put people in business themselves at a price they can afford, and at the same time, a piece of those profits helping the CDC.
Throughout the presentation, you're going to constantly hear how the CDC, the West Tampa CDC, was able to position itself with the different players to bring in income into the community that wouldn't normally be there. How we were able to understand and partner with lenders, as well as investors, as well as businesses, in order to frame the deal. So we move more away from grants and look at other deals that can be created between the public and private sector. Keep that in mind about the public and private sector relationship.
It's a fantastic concept we put together. I'd love to share it with you.
Thank you, sir. We're literally talking, the CDC will be able to bring in tens of thousands of dollars. That's a part of this deal right here. That's what we mean by being able to create deals to bring in income. This deal would have netted the CDC back then tens of thousands of dollars to use in what's known as unrestricted monies to use to the CDC to do a different initiative that might not be covered by your normally program money. So again, it becomes very important that you're able to frame a deal with developers, investors, and funders to be able to do the deal in order to bring back monies to the community. Again, it's all about the private sector coming to the nonprofit sector, and we're thinking like a business for the community. I can't overemphasize that business structure, the model that we have. That's what that success is all about, in addition to getting that community buy-in. Let's talk about some ways that we have what we used back then in order to bring in money. Later on, we're going to talk about how we have reframed everything from then to now. Social development. In terms of social development, we're looking at essentially 5 things: community, building, health, the environment, public safety, and youth. Talking about youth. We have a person that's going to be partnering with the CDC that's done a lot of national things as it relates to youth. Ms. Siegel, would you come up, please, and give your brief presentation, because everybody's looking at me like, how long?
Very quick. My name is
Financial institutions, another major player in terms of community and economic development.
This project is what I would consider the finest model of public-private partnerships. What we have prepared here is a listing of what we offer the West Tampa community as credit union housing partners, but it's also what we will offer all of the residents of West Tampa as well as East Tampa. The 2 credit unions have received from the National Credit Union Association Underserved Community Charter, and that Underserved Community Charter allows the credit unions to provide open membership to folks who are living in West Tampa.
So, as you see, we were able to bring so many different resources to West Tampa to put together a plan in which investors, developers, as well as lenders were excited about. Again, I can't overemphasize that public-private relationship in terms of neighborhood transformation. Later on, you're going to hear about what we're doing now compared to what we did when we initially got started. We understand how to bring partners, networks, and collaborations to the table to work as a collective to transform the community.
Who work in West Tampa as well as worship in West Tampa.
I'm Vice President of Community Development for Regions Bank here, and I told Michael he could get a New York minute, so I'm going to just describe a couple of the programs that we have at Regions Bank and a couple of the other affiliate programs that we are members of. We do have construction acquisition, rehab loans. They can also be for programs for microloans for those small businesses that are around here as well. And the pre-development fund, the maximum is $100,000. It's for nonprofits only. We also partner with lending consortia in the area for the state, actually. One of those is the Florida Community Loan Fund, and that again is for nonprofit developers. We are partners with Neighborhood Lending, which is based here in Tampa, and they do loans for commercial as well as multifamily projects. That's for non-for-profits and for-profits. And we're also members of LISC, and you'll hear about LISC a little bit later when Diana Kyle comes up. One other thing that we can tap into as a funding source is some grant opportunities. I know you do a lot of that, Michael. We can work with you to look at some facade improvements, especially now with the Main Street initiative that you have. So that kind of gives you a New York minute of...
So even before a Main Street initiative was talked about, and it's talked about a lot today, the West Tampa CDC was moving towards putting together a Main Street initiative. Again, one of the roles of the West Tampa CDC is to bring about infrastructure changes. And we'll talk more about that later on.
The programs that we offer at Regions Bank, I put some of my information on one of the tables, and my contact information is there as well. Thank you.
It is about the possibilities and about bringing resources to the table in order to make it happen, in order to be sustainable. One of the ways that we're doing this is the traditional way in terms of grants. And we will always pursue grants. The other thing we're doing is a fee for service. As we become better at doing our business classes for those that are coming from out the community, we'll be charging a fee to those individuals in order to sustain what we do. The other thing we do is act as a developer and get. Now, one of the most important things about being a developer when the West Tampa CDC was doing this thing was that we was able to not only build a quality product for affordable housing, but we were also able to create a resource, because each house that was sold, we got back, because we were the developer, like a 10-15% cost of that. That allowed us to put that money back into the community in order to do youth programs, senior programs, or any programs that was focused towards the transformation of West Tampa. Now, what was unique also about the development side of the table was that the West Tampa CDC was able to bring on consultants to show what could be done with small lots in West Tampa that is affordable and both affordable, but low quality house we build. And we brought in the consultant, we hired that person and built the first 3 houses on the small lots to show that in fact, you could build a quality product on a small lot. So the other thing we also talk about is like consultant fees, and operating your own business. We're going to talk about that later on, but the West Tampa CDC strategy is to create 3 businesses that we'll use to bring in monies in addition to grants and things of that nature. Development fees. Ray Horner from our office is going to talk about our housing project that's coming up, and we get 10% for each house that we build. The other thing is the consultant fee. We position ourselves to be a consultant to work with the nonprofit sector in order to generate some type of funds. You're going to be hearing about some of those things we're doing with the. Without every branch of government, it's kind of hard to pull this off. So what we're going to talk about now is how we was able to connect with the federal, the state, the local, and the county government, bring them all together, again, to buy into the community design plan. This was the first time that the community actually designed its own plan, and that was my responsibility to put together that plan. And it was a success. Let's move forward.
Here's a reminder. Do with your community. I can assure you the Senator shares your goal for creating a strong and healthy community here. I have to caution you that there are limited federal resources available, and there is a lot of competition for those resources from other communities in Florida and states across the nation. But this is a region that the Senator is very proud to represent and looks forward to working with you on it. Just from what I've seen here tonight, I can tell you that you do have some things going for you which will make this project much easier to sell to federal agencies.
Notice, because we had a plan in the buy-in, we knew that when the leaders came, we could sell the deal. Tonight, you're going to hear how we sold the deal. Because the one thing you're going to hear consistently from the politicians is that respect of being able to do public-private types of deals. While grants are important, but the ability to focus on public-private deals in order to increase the quality of life in West Tampa.
agencies and federal lawmakers. The fact that it was developed with input from the local residents in the community is vital, and that they buy in on it and that they're excited about it. The fact that it's a private-public partnership, not reliant exclusively upon government dollars, will help make this a viable plan in selling it to federal agencies. Assuming it has the support of the local elected officials, your city, county, and state representatives. I've not yet heard from them, so I would need feedback from them on it, of course. But those are all selling points that will make this project easier for the senator to sell on the Hill, and I look forward to working with you as his representative on this and other projects in the future. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Kynes, representing our U.S. Congress.
Congressman Davis will work closely with the other local representatives here from both the city government and the state government, and yourself and Senator Nelson in trying to help the community achieve its goals. Michael, I want to congratulate you and everyone involved in putting this together, and I look forward to getting a copy of it as soon as you can get us one. This really is about empowering local residents. And this community, as much as any other community in our city, has been very, very patient. And I truly hope that this comes to fruition and that everyone will, both in the public and private sector, will achieve its goals. And certainly you can depend on our office to be with you and work with you, whether it's to try to get CDBG funds or work with other nonprofits, LISC, and the city certainly on its various goals. We will be there, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you for inviting our office here tonight. Thank you.
Our next speaker is State Senator Les Miller. I must say this about our senator. He donated the first $1,000 to our city.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator Miller. I didn't have $1,000, so I gave them to John.
Thing has been said about what's happening here in West Tampa and with the CDC here in West Tampa. And one of the things I heard Senator Martinez's office said, will they have support of the local elected officials? I guarantee you that they will have the support of local elected officials, whether it's city, county, or state, both House and Senate. And you're going to hear probably from Representative Enriquez. This community.
This is how you put together the deal. This is how you transform communities.
Has been a black community, I said blight, not black, blight community for many years. And to have an organization that comes in now and get started on some state funds that have now taken a nonprofit status and starting to work with a profit status and doing the things that it's doing is to be congratulated, but it still has a long way to go. And I think Mr. Randolph pointed out some figures to you of how people are living in this community that are still living below the poverty level and there's still unemployment in this area. And they're trying their very best to educate people. They're trying their very best to give people the opportunity to have jobs and or create their own businesses. That's vitally important. So as long as I'm sitting in the position I'm in now, or whether I go to something else in the very near future, I will be here working with this organization because it's vitally important not only to West Tampa, but to the city of Tampa and also to Hillsborough County and the state of Florida, because everyone wants to live in a home, have a picket fence around that home, and something fresh and refrigerated when they get home, and that's vitally important to them. So congratulations on what you're doing. My office will always be there for you. We'll never, ever give up. Sometimes there might be bumps.
Very good. I want to, again, congratulate you on this remarkable effort. Some 80 years ago, my great-grandfather, who was the last mayor of West Tampa, turned over West Tampa back to the city of Tampa. And when that took place, he made a baseball coach once upon a time that told me that a blaze starts with a spark. And this is the spark that I believe will revitalize West Tampa, and that's a key term, revitalization, because it's happening from within. See, most often, we talk about redevelopment within neighborhoods, but at that point, an area is so blighted that someone goes back in and compiles all the land and they make it into something else completely different. And that's what's happened in some other communities within our own area. But this is true revitalization from within, using those folks that have toiled here for many years, that they'll be part.
This is what we call a bottom-up approach to community development.
Of this vision. And I want to again thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your support over the years. It's as though we've watched this baby that was born in your office continue to grow, and I look forward to many more years of seeing this vision come to fruition. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, representing our very fine mayor, is Ms.
And first, let me say that I'm very proud to be working for Mayor Iorio and to be having the honor of.
What was important about the relationship between the CDC, West Tampa CDC, and the mayor is that mayor understood that, and this, it was the same time as it is now. Developers come in, and the question of affordable housing was running away from the community. What the mayor did, Mayor, what she did was to say, here's what we're going to do, because West Tampa CDC understands public-private relationships, understand relationship to developer. We're going to make sure that if you're a developer and you're coming to West Tampa, you need to come and sit at the table. And because of that particular mandate, and it was two developers that was on a major project, and one project, the CDC was able to get what you call now community benefit, was from the developer, an employment center to be built and gifted to the West Tampa CDC. The importance of that deal was to create an opportunity for residents who lived in that neighborhood to get a job so they can afford the ever-increasing cost of housing. The second deal was with a developer that the mayor sent to the office that resulted in a $650,000 gifted grant. And the way that grant was going to be used was to make available for people that's in the community closing costs. So if you're going to buy a house and you got closing costs from the city, you got closing costs from the county, but you still got a gap and you can't really fill that gap, meaning that affordable housing is out your reach only because you can't fill that gap. Well, with that $650,000, we was going to use that as a grant to fill the grant so you could get that house by providing the money for that closing cost. Folks, that's what we call public-private relationships. That's how we reduce gentrification, by making sure that every agreement that comes into play, community benefit agreement, is one that looks towards reducing gentrification.
Representing her today. I think that one thing that is her theme is that she listens to the people, she listens to the neighborhoods. I've worked in a number of local and also at the federal level, up north and here now in Tampa, and I think what you often hear is that government knows what's best for you. We don't believe in that. We believe that what the citizens and what the neighborhood associations, and especially now working with the CDC, you need to tell us what services we can provide. Now, speaking for myself and for my departments, I think, Dr. Fisher, you already know, if I can be the conduit of information, that is my goal. If I can bring the folks together at City Hall, because we're terrible at talking to each other within City Hall. You know how hard it is for you to all find each other. Sometimes we have the same problem too. So my mission is to make sure that we get the right people at the table, whether it's my department or another department. And let me also mention one other thing. We've talked a lot about bringing new business in.
Is going to be a good thing. That it's been so long in coming, because West Tampa has been neglected for so many years, like Representative Henriquez said, but it's stopped, and now we have the ear of the mayor. And Cindy, you know that I will be at your side, and you know that I will be talking to you. All you got to do, Michael, is call me and let me know, just like you did the last time we got those permits going. And so all you got to do is call, and that goes for anybody in this area, because my district, my office is always open. My phone number is 274-7074. We've got Desiree on the line all the time. She's constantly working for the West Tampa area, as well as my other areas of this. But West Tampa is the heart. It's my heart, and we want to make sure that this heart keeps beating. Thank you so much.
All the energy and the dynamics and the possibilities. And all of those are here tonight.
Another very important component to the strategy is working with institutions of higher learning. What was so attractive about this deal was that USF was so impressed with the deal, because they was used to coming in as a university and doing the deal. They was impressed that the community was able to frame the deal and design its own vision as to what the future should look like. That's important. Making sure you got those institutions of higher learning on board, but that they follow your plan.
Tonight. The reality of what people were talking about and what the CDC was embarking on is happening now. And what you've got here is the three ingredients that make a community successful. You have a plan, you have partners, and you have leadership. You've got it all going for you. I'm very proud and privileged to be able to be a partner here with the University of South Florida and working in the community through the Jim Walter Partnership Center. We believe in being out in the community, engaging the community, and asking the community, how can the university help? It comes from a community-based perspective. So far, that commitment is so strong that I was able to work with the university and our university office, our engagement community office is here in West Tampa, next to the West Tampa CDC. We've also brought in our partners from FAMU and the Schimberg Center for Affordable Housing. So we're bringing in partners into this community to help all of us make West Tampa a better community for all of us.
She's in trouble now. LISC is a national nonprofit, and what our job is to provide best practices for the neighborhoods. We will be bringing in some new concepts for the community, and we hope that you will listen to Dr. Fisher and to Michael with very open minds.
We also understood the necessary component in doing affordable housing in order to bring gap money to the table in order to fund our affordable home projects. This is a national organization that not only provide technical skills in terms of community real estate development, especially affordable housing, but also other skills, especially financial management. So that was definitely a plus in that relationship with LISC. This concludes this meeting, but let's look at what was the response to the meeting. That next day, the CDC, West Tampa CDC, made noise. And the noise we made was that the city, West Tampa community, was alive and well. As you see, we had people from national, state, official attend the group meeting. It was truly inspirational. But let's talk about how do we do it? What was the plan, the strategy that led us to that meeting? Well, we used what's known as a place-based strategy in terms of creating a community comprehensive approach to rebuilding neighborhoods. The approach is holistic, it's comprehensive, and it's integrated in terms of its scope. The methodology we use, and this is very important, is what's known as an access mapping strategy that synthesizes 3 community disciplines. Neighborhood planning, that's where you get buy-in from the community. Community organizing, that's how you mobilize the community. And economic development into a single methodology for community revitalization. What you saw tonight was the plan. As you can see, the plan is the blueprint to our success. It starts with the community. Who empowers the West Tampa CDC to act on its behalf to bring about the vision and mission that it has set out. The West Tampa CDC does this by partnering with different partners, including other nonprofits, government agencies, the private sector, institutions of higher learning, and others. This is how we put together the resources, the partners, and the funders. Based on this approach, then comes the strategic plan as to how do we bring about the plan. Again, the strategy is holistic, comprehensive. Holistic in that we look at economic development, social development, and physical development. Social development is anything having to do with people, be it youth, seniors, health problems, everything related to people. And economic deals with everything related to money, businesses, and physical development deals with land use and bricks and mortar. We put this into one school of thought. Now, we come to the end of this presentation. Please join us on June the 4th of 2022 as we begin to talk about the next level of the planning, the update, where we are now, the technology center that we bring together, the business center that we bring together. So hold tight. Thank you for taking part in this presentation, but the best is yet to come.